Your brand is your branding is the promise that you make, and your brand is the promise that you keep. And that's that conditional statement. They're real good at this, but they're not so good at that. So they're looking at the promises you're actually keeping, and that's what they tell each other. If you read the reviews, it's all about, well, they promised this, and we got that. Okay, so we're really disappointed. Or it came, and it was just exactly like they described, and it's working great, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's all about promises. All of this marketing stuff, I've read probably every marketing book there is, or at least shuffled through it once I got the idea. They make it so complicated. It's more like my brother and I. It's more like, you want something, I need to figure out how to give it to you so you're going to be happy with it. That's it. Okay? That's it in a nutshell. And if you find enough people who have that desire, you've got a business.
Before we jump into this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube, and after a listen, please give us a thumbs up, like, and share, if we've earned it. With your help, we can reach more people and deliver these valuable From the Trenches lessons to those that need it. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by Kristin Zhivago. Welcome to the show, Kristin.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Matt.
So Kristin is, what do you do, Kristin? I like to sometimes throw it to the guest. Tell us just like 30 seconds what you do.
I am currently the president of Zhivago Partners, which is a digital agency that provides all services, all digital marketing services to B2B and B2C companies. Been around since 2017. Before that, for a number of decades, I was a revenue coach. I helped CEOs and entrepreneurs make more money by understanding what their customers wanted to buy from them and how they wanted to buy it. I'm an expert on the customer's buying process.
Perfect. See, you said that way better than I could have said that. So no, it's awesome. We have a conversation today around marketing, something about marketing turnarounds, maybe a little bit about leadership. So, but the first thing we do when I have somebody on the podcast for the first time is we like to dig into your story a little bit, your origin story, Kristin, and, figure out what inspired you to get into business, entrepreneurship, what led up to that, and how you became this awesome person helping people in the world today.
All right. So I started young. I started out selling Girl Scout cookies and rocks, believe it or not, in the neighborhood in a little red wagon. And I didn't realize it at the time, but the only reason I sold any rocks is because the ladies that I sold them to were so nice. It had nothing to do with my sales experience. But I was in show business. My family was in show business. My dad used to teach 3,000 kids a year how to ballroom dance, and they went on Ed Sullivan and all that. So that was way back when. And so I had a lot of that in my background, have a music degree, sang my way through college. But the more I got into it, the more I realized that I was also selling. I did a lot of selling and marketing jobs, and I started realizing that it was way better to help somebody sell successfully and have their company grow because of it than it was to give them 3 minutes of joy with some great song. I mean, that's kind of what it boiled down to. And I basically have helped other people realize their dreams my whole life. That's what I do. And the beauty of entrepreneurship is if a business is successful, then all the people who work in it are successful. It's got this little ripple in the pond kind of aspect to it. I love it. So this is what I've continued to do. After a lot of sales and marketing jobs and figuring out that you really had to know what you were talking about before you could sell. I learned that when I was 17. I was selling machine shop tools. I think I was the first woman in the country to do that. But I failed miserably because I didn't know which drill bit was better or why our drill bit was better than the one they were using.
Sounds important.
So I vowed to myself in a parking lot after I was totally humiliated in a machine shop that I would learn everything about tech and everything about selling. And I've been doing that ever since. My husband and I started a tech ad agency in Silicon Valley way back when. And we did that for about 12 years until the Mac came out. And I looked at my husband and I said, you know what? They're all going to go in-house. And I'm not going to beg for crumbs at the table. So I encouraged him to retire. He was 52 at the time. He was an inventor and an artist. Interesting combination. And he had more fun being retired. He was working every day building things and inventing things and such. So he was a happy guy. And I labeled myself, I repositioned myself as a revenue coach, and I started doing marketing and sales department turnarounds for companies of all sizes, startups, moms and pops, mid-sized businesses, and companies like IBM, Dow Jones. I did some work for Johnson & Johnson. And got really good at that, enjoyed it. But by 2017, I could see that people were like deer in the headlights when it came to digital marketing, especially older established companies that had been around for a while. And they just didn't understand it, and they were failing miserably against their more tech-savvy competitors. So I started Zhivago Partners, and we have a team. We've got about 20 people. We're just a boutique agency. We grow slowly so we can meet all of our deliverables on purpose. You know, it's just the way we work. And we have a completely jerk-free environment. No jerk clients, no jerk workers. Everybody helps each other all day. It's really fun. I live in a jerk-free bubble, and I love it.
That's awesome. That's what you want to do. Yeah, because you have control over, well, you can make that decision. I'm not going to work with jerks.
Yeah.
I like that. Your stories, there's a theme. It seems like, I love that you have a music background. That's very cool. We need that too in the world. That helps a lot of people.
Oh yeah. It's a wonderful thing. And I'm going to go back to it if I ever retire, but I'm having so much fun doing what I'm doing.
That's actually what I say about art. I tried to be an artist in my 20s, and I said, someday when I've made my fortune and I retire, I'm going to go back to art. So I'll be like 80 years old. But anyway, but the thing you gravitated to was the thing you really wanted to have impact on organizations, top to bottom, having that kind of trickle effect through an organization to improve not only what they deliver, but everyone's lives involved, the people they're delivering to, probably their own lives. So that's pretty inspiring. That's good. What do you think sparked that? Was it? Did you have some experiences where you're like, this is, what was it that told you this is what I really love to do? This is. Did you have a negative experience and you helped somebody? No,
it was my autistic brother. My mother remarried when I was 8, and her first child was my autistic brother, Michael, who has just left us a couple of weeks ago. He died of the same cancer my husband died from.
Sorry to hear that.
Amazing human being. And, autistic folks are typically really good at a couple of things. In his case, it was laughter and love. That's who he was, 24/7. I mean, he'd get frustrated. I still have a little bruise on my lip from when he did this. We got stuck in a Phoenix airport once, and they wouldn't let us go because he didn't have a valid driver's license. And so, I mean, I don't think I look like a terrorist, and I don't think he did either, but we sat there, and he wasn't ever good at waiting for things.
Good at
But I learned how to communicate and how to empathize with someone who wasn't capable of communicating properly. He had trouble with his hearing and such. And we just got closer and closer. I ended up being his conservator. I would say he changed my life. He took me from being, a normal kid with normal kid stuff to a caretaker and somebody really, really needed to work hard to understand what was going on in his life. Because when you got it right, everything was fantastic. When you didn't, it wasn't so good. So, excuse me, I think that was the beginning of my formulation as somebody who got a lot of satisfaction out of giving people what they needed. And that just expanded. I mean, the whole selling thing isn't really about selling. It's about making it easier for them to buy. They're already trying to spend money with you. They're working so they can spend. And it's our job to make it that as smooth and easy as possible.
I love that. Yeah, that is what sales at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's getting people what they need or they want, and making that process easy and, steering them in the right direction, right? Hopefully you got a good product.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. So were you going to say something?
I was going to say this is a good time to talk about what I consider their mindset when they set out to buy.
Oh,
and I think that's more important than a persona. A persona is very deceiving, can be deceiving because an 80-year-old guy will buy a blender for the same reasons that an 18-year-old guy would buy a blender. So you really need to understand their mindset when they set out to buy. That's the moment that you really need to start engaging. And I consider that to consist of their desires, their concerns, and their questions. And they kind of go in order. So first, what do you need? What are you looking for? What do you want? What's the drive here that's causing you to come to us and try to get a solution or something that you need? You have to know what that is. So I teach people how to interview their current customers and then reverse engineer a successful sale. So they actually interview them. They ask open-ended questions. I spell it all out in my book, Roadmap to Revenue, Chapter 3. It's an exact prescription on how to get these people. Now it's Zoom audio. It used to be phone, but doesn't matter. And ask these open-ended questions, which I've worked out over thousands of interviews. And you can talk to 5 to 7 people of a given type and get bankable insights that can then be used to drive your whole strategy. It's amazing stuff. It's very easy, and everybody should be doing it because otherwise you miss the mark. So you need to know what they want, and then you need to know what their concerns are, because there's no such thing as a virgin selling environment. They've been through some bad experiences. And if you pass those 2 tests, then they have very specific questions. And you need to know what those are and answer them. And my last example of that is when you go to Amazon, and I have a little desk by my side here that has plugs inside of it and a little lid that lifts up and you can put your laptop in it at night if you want to. And the manufacturer answered every question except how big is it inside.
Oh.
You want to put your laptop in there, you need to know that, right? So Amazon is the best example on the planet on making it easier to buy. And one of the things they let customers do is ask other customers the questions that are not answered in the manufacturer's information.
That is convenient. That is nice. Yeah. Interesting. And so you don't need, like you said, you could have 8 people, 7 people, 7 customers.
Yeah.
Clients.
5 to 7
whatever.
people of a given type. Yeah.
Of a given type. What is a given type? Like let's category
say okay, so if you're selling B2C and it's a high scrutiny product like a car or house or something, you want to know what the husband and the wife think, and maybe the kids too, or the in-laws or whoever's, why did you buy this? Why did you come to us? In B2B, oftentimes, again, with a high scrutiny product or service, there's a buyer, there's a purchasing agent, there's a user, there's top management. Each one of those types of people needs to be interviewed. Now, if you interview all types, you can get by with maybe 4 or 5 of the most important, and then maybe 2 or 3 of the less important. You will see commonalities in their answers. Even buyers who never have talked to each other will use the same exact phrase to say, well, they're really good at this, but they're not so good at that. And once you know those things, you know what you can promote and what you need to fix in the background.
That's awesome. Yeah, knowledge. Let's say knowledge is power. In this case, knowledge is knowing your clients or your customers and what their needs are, what their desires are, concerns, and what questions they have. Then you can come prepared and fine tune your process, fine tune how you maybe that might impact how you create the product or how you package the product or the services.
Everything. Yeah, all of it.
So when you approach a company, who do you start with? Do you start with the leadership, and in terms of these concepts?
You mean when I'm selling my services? Is that what you're talking about?
When you're selling your services, when you go to a company, how do you help them? What do you do in that company? Or who do you start with?
Well, first of all,
go ahead.
I do a lot of self-marketing, because if you hire a marketing consultant who can't market themselves, then you're not hiring the right marketing consultant. So we do a lot of marketing. I've been doing this for years. I started writing articles before the web. I think in 1984, I wrote in marketing magazines, ongoing articles. And then, of course, when the web came out, I started doing blogs. I do blogs and guides. I appear on these podcasts and so on. And what happens is somebody out there who has this problem where they're not satisfied with the way their digital marketing is going. They should be getting a steady stream of good, highly qualified leads. That's what we deliver. Okay. And we deliver it through various channels, whatever's appropriate for their audience. We don't have any set formulas that say, oh, well, everybody has to do this. No, you have to do what your buyers expect you to do. You have to be where they expect you, and you have to behave the way they expect you to behave. So we find all that out. So the first thing we do is interview. Now, I will say what we sell, these services, are what I would call a high scrutiny service, because we're deeply involved in their business. I mean, they're depending on us to bring them business and grow. And we know a whole lot of things about their business. So they want somebody they can trust and someone whose ideas resonate. So what happens is I'm on a podcast, somebody sees it, and even though I'm selling a high scrutiny product or service, and they have a million questions, because they like what I'm saying, they call me up and they say, hey, I just read your book, or I just read an article, or I just saw a podcast or whatever, and I want to hire you. I have 2 questions. Can you work with us, and how much does it cost? So by good marketing, I've whittled down those numbers of questions to just the essential ones that I don't want to put on my website. Everybody's different. The cost depends on the size of the client and that type of thing. Yeah. So marketing does work if you do it right, and you have to invest in the types of things. This is thought resonance. Okay, they need to resonate. They need to be nice people who are taking good care of their customers and their employees. We don't work with anybody else. And this buyer journey support concept makes sense to them. They're evolved enough in sales and marketing and thinking about that to realize that the buyer's in control, and they need to support the process that's already in place.
That's interesting.
So they call me up, and we do it.
It's interesting how you're kind of defining who you'll work with, kind of like who you surround yourself with. Kind people that are helping each other, but the same with their clients. You want to make sure you're working with clients that are kind of have the same kind of culture and feelings about the world. Um, Interesting. So you and I kind of I was asking about where do you start with your services, and I mentioned the leadership and stuff because I've been having recent conversations about people that they would like go into a business and they would work with specific types of people because a lot of what you do, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you come into you're going to help somebody with their marketing. They might already have established things in place, things they're already doing. And so you have to speak to the right people in the company to affect those changes, to actually maybe change or improve what they're doing, maybe stop what they're doing, do this new thing. Is that part of what you're looking at when you're going into a company where you're identifying, okay, who am I talking to? Am I talking to the right people? Is this a culture that is set up for change? Are they going to listen to my ideas? And or is there friction there? That type of thing.
Yeah, no, those are good points. The first thing is the jerk test. So I have a phrase that I use, and I say it in the initial conversation. And by their reaction, I know right away if they're a jerk or not. And I'm not going to say what it is because then everybody will know how to behave.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. You don't give that away.
I'm not going to give that away. But I use that for employee people and, our workers and our clients. It's pretty much 100% effective. I've been surprised a few times. Dropped one of our largest clients, I guess it was a year ago, because he became a jerk. And initially, and I told him this at the end, I said, we can't work with you anymore. My staff just doesn't want to work with you. You don't pass the test. And he said, well, hang on. Is that all you're going to say? And I said, well, okay. Initially, you were somewhat dismissive. And then you started being rude. And then you became a jerk. Okay, so
dismissive,
we
rude
just
jerk.
had to, he knew I have my philosophy about jerks, and he went, oh, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. But he also treated his right-hand man very rudely, and we just couldn't do it. It was too stressful.
Yeah.
Getting jerks out of your life is a way to eliminate about 95% of your stress, by the way. The person who hires us is the person who has the power already. It's usually the CEO or a VP of operations or a VP of marketing or chief revenue officer, somebody up in the leadership area. And they don't have carte blanche if they're the VP, but they're really given their head to run. And if they're good at their job, and all the people we work with are, we pretty much just become a team. And we become an extension of whatever they're already doing. Because we come as you said, we come right into the middle of their movie, and we have to support and provide the things they can't do themselves. And then the things they're already doing that they're doing fine, no problem. Just, we help wherever we can. So it requires being flexible. But what you said reminded me of one of my clients is a voracious learner. I mean, he's just trying to get his company as good as it can be and as good as he can be every day. It's just massively into that kind of mode, and I respect him for that. And he told me one day, he said, I had a mentor who said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And he was like, yeah, okay, we all know that. And then the mentor looked at him and said, that's why I look for thirsty horses. So that's kind of my another test right now. In addition to the jerk test, is just how willing are you to make these changes? Because when I come back with the truth after these interviews, the first thing I do is interview their customers for them, come back with these reports and say, here's exactly what they said in answer to this question. They're all anonymous. It's this person, that person, this person, but it doesn't say who they are. And when you see all the answers agreeing with each other in this report, you suddenly say, oh, wow, all this time we've been thinking this was important, and it's not. They don't even care about that. They're buying this. And we don't even promote that. We just take it for granted, you know?
Yeah.
That happens over and over and over again. And the statement, you know, I always say that your brand is your branding is the promise that you make, and your brand is the promise that you keep. And that's that conditional statement. They're real good at this, but they're not so good at that. So they're looking at the promises you're actually keeping, and that's what they tell each other. If you read the reviews, it's all about, well, they promised this, and we got that. Okay, so we're really disappointed. Or it came, and it was just exactly like they described, and it's working great, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's all about promises. All of this marketing stuff, I've read probably every marketing book there is, or at least shuffled through it once I got the idea. They make it so complicated. It's more like my brother and I. It's more like, you want something, I need to figure out how to give it to you so you're going to be happy with it. That's it. Okay? It's it in a nutshell. And if you find enough people who have that desire, you've got a business. And you charge proper prices, and you take care of your people. And I'm actually writing a new book in between running the company, so it makes it tough to finish. But I'm writing a new book. And the title of it is Love, Leverage, and Logistics: How You and Your Company Can Change the World.
You lead with love.
I'm getting older. There's no question about it. And I only have so many years. You know, once you hit a certain age, you go, I got this much time left, okay? And I really want to get this idea out into the world that business is not about fat, sweaty, cigar chomping old white men, or whatever they show in the movies, you know, being greedy and some of these examples of business and how rude they are to each other, how terrible backbiting. And in my experience, having worked with thousands of customers and hundreds of companies, maybe it's because I don't work with jerks. I agree about that. But honestly, they're mostly started by somebody who thinks that they can help somebody with something. It is a helpfulness. So why not grow that part of this whole business culture? And I honestly think that can change the world, because business is everywhere. We're all doing business all the time.
And why not be kind to each other and help each other and spread love? And yeah. I mean, well, I look at my client relationships, and with other agencies, we have agency partnerships and stuff. And I'm kind of the same way. I don't do well working with somebody that's a jerk. And I don't think I've defined it as a jerk, but I'm pretty sure that I will do everything I can to avoid that situation or not carry it forward. And that's made all the difference, though, because I feel like, you know, for my business, I feel like relationships are everything. I was just talking to, actually, it was somebody was trying to sell me something, but I was talking about that they were trying to sell me a service. And I said, well, let me tell you something. You know, they want me to buy today. And I said, well, I don't look at it like I'm going to, you know, I may not get it today. I might get it in 3 months, 6 months. I said, you know, you got to be okay with that, because I'm not this is, I kind of turned it around on him. I said, because I might buy your services for 10 years. Once I decide to do it, I'm going to do it. And then we're going to have a long-term relationship. And because I do like your services, but don't pressure me right now. Basically, I was saying,
yeah.
I need my time, but it's things like that. To me, it's all about relationships. It's about working with people you like. And, I have so many examples of that, I have, long-term relationships where, we're just like friends. We're just getting business done. We're handling things for them. And we're even joking around here and there, or saying, I can tell when they're having a bad day, and, and I try to make it better. So that's what we're all here for, is try to help each other. And in my opinion too. And I don't see, like you said, those movies and stuff with everyone being jerks and backstabbing everybody to get ahead and all that stuff. I don't see that either. And maybe it's a different industry. That maybe there's certain industries where that's
well, having grown up in show business, I mean, my mother and stepfather had parties pretty much every month. They had a party, and there were theater people, and they'd come in and say, "Oh my God, is this your daughter? Oh my God!" And they're kissing me and everything, and I'd be just like, "Oh, geez, give me a break." The real problem. So I will say that the industry of show business is particularly bad. It's not a nice business. Okay, it's a lot of me versus you. You get the part or I get the part. You get higher ratings or I, so there's this constant contest going on
competition,
all the time. Ego. And the other problem is when you get to be my age and you start getting wrinkles and such, your life starts to fall apart because you can't look like that. So they go through all these procedures and everything. And it's it's a nasty business. It's one of the reasons I got out. I do want to say that my definition of a jerk is someone who makes it harder. I don't care what it is. I don't care why they did it or how they did it, or what problems they had when they were a child or anything. It doesn't matter. They just make it harder for everyone else to do their job. That's a jerk. And everyone else, the nice people, do their best to make it easier for you. So as you're working with people, the one bad person is the one that just keeps gumming up the works. They don't give you all the information. They say one thing and then say, "Oh, that's not what I said. I said this," and you're like, "Oh, geez." So
yeah, they bring drama to the show.
Exactly.
I mean, so it's interesting you're defining a jerk. I mean, it's also, just within an organization, you may love the founders and the people that generally, all the people in whether it's an agency or company or whatever, but then there's that one person that they're invaluable to the company and they're really important to some aspect of what they do, and they're going to have a hard time getting rid of that person, and you have to kind of deal with them. So that's a tough. I've been in that place a few times where I'm like, I have to work with this person periodically throughout my week. Is this whole thing worth it? Because that one, and like everything else is amazing except that one person, you're like, maybe he won't last forever. Maybe something else will happen and he'll leave.
That's what you keep wishing. Yeah. If it's the CEO, you need to get out. Yeah. If it's the top of the company, you've got to get out. It's not going to get any better. Yeah. It actually gets worse over time.
Yeah, that makes a difference. Yeah, I mean, it's something you can discuss with them as well, but sometimes or you just structure things.
Oh, you mean discuss with the CEO? If the CEO is a jerk, is that what you mean?
No, if not the CEO is a jerk, I'm saying if somebody within the organization is a jerk, and then you can discuss it with the people, managers, or whoever is in or works with that person, and maybe something happens, and they'll probably say, "Yeah, we know that. We've heard that before."
Yeah. But there's this old saying about, and excuse my language because I don't swear as a general rule, but there's no better way to say it. They kiss up and piss down. So the people below them know how hard it is to get things done, and the people above them do not, because they're kissing up all the time.
Yes.
So those are the ones that are the hardest to convince your boss. What do you mean that's not how Bob acts. Bob's a perfectly reasonable guy. I've never had any problems. Well, yeah, you're the CEO. Of course you haven't any problems. So yeah, it's a virus. And it shouldn't be there. It doesn't need to be there. I'm absolutely convinced that businesses really can make a difference in the world and make these pockets, these jerk-free bubbles that people are working in. And I don't think people realize how powerful that is.
So what is your advice to a leader that maybe, is listening to this and they're thinking they might have a few people in the organization, or they want to build that kind of culture or that kind of environment where they don't have to deal with those people, what is your advice to them? How do they get started? Like, do they have to start firing people?
You can do. No, well, yes, you can do that. When I did marketing and sales turnarounds, my husband used to say, fire early and often. And I would find the jerkiest person, and that would be the person I'd let go first. And everybody would know that I let the jerk go. And then they'd relax and they'd be comfortable and they'd think I was a good boss. Like, quick. I mean, it just, I validated what they knew to be true. And it worked. The way I would do it, if I had the feeling that this was happening in my company, maybe there was a more obvious drama. People would sort of complain, but not a lot, because they don't tell the CEO the truth. By the time the CEO finds out that there's been a little water problem in the basement, the whole basement has flooded and it's ruined. Everything inside is ruined. But that's what they hear, that there was a little water problem in the basement. So they don't really hear the truth. So what you should do is hire somebody trustworthy, an HR consultant or someone who just goes around and interviews everyone. Anonymous, that was the key with these customer interviews too. It has to be presented anonymously so nobody says, oh, Bob always says that, disregard. You don't want them dismissing the truth. So you go around, and one of the questions, what do you like about your job? What's good? What's not? What's frustrated you? And so on. And ask questions like, where does your work get hung up? When do you get frustrated? And, who's involved, and give me some examples. And you'll come back with a report that absolutely pinpoints the person and the way the person behaves. And if 8 or 9 people say it, the CEO will finally say, okay, we have a problem. I never had a problem with that person, but everyone else seems to be. So there's a common denominator here. It's that person. And you can try to get the person to change, but they're not thirsty horses if they've been doing it all their lives. It's a decision. Being a jerk is a decision that you make. There are no jerk babies. There are no jerk babies. They might be uncomfortable. They might have issues, their stomach's upset or something, or their diaper's wet. But they aren't jerks. They don't manipulate. They don't craftily manipulate. It's when they get into public environments and they're being bullied, and there's a lot of talk about bullied. I don't know a single human being who wasn't bullied in elementary school. I mean, it's just, it happens to everybody. There's always something someone can pick on.
Yeah.
So the question then becomes, as you're in that environment and being accosted by these bullies, how am I going to handle this? Am I going to rise up above them and be honest and truthful and honorable and nice about it? Or am I going to sink to their level and bully them back or repay in kind? Or how am I going to deal with this? That moment defines how they go about life. That's why I was so lucky that my brother was born when I was 8. It was such a formulative time for me. And he had to be helped. And I was the only girl in the family, and my parents were very busy people. So, I kind of took over that care thing. It was invaluable. Yeah. And it decided me, I would never, and I fought the boys in the neighborhood. They'd tease him and I'd beat him up. So, I had this protective gene in me that was like, don't you dare mess with my brother.
I love that.
So it's a decision you make. That's why my jerk test works so well, because I actually, by what I ask them, they self-identify in the way they react to the question. And I know immediately if they're a jerk or not, because they know they are. In their heart of heart, they know they're a jerk.
Yeah.
Anyway, It's enough about jerks.
Yeah. No, it's good. No, I think it's important. I know seeing everyone's, not working with jerks is kind of fun. And, but I think like I said, again, in my business, I'm very thoughtful about that. Like, I don't want to work with somebody that's just throwing work at me and there's no relationship there, and they're unhappy with this and they're complaining about that, or they, manipulating this situation and all that. I don't want to work with that. I'm trying to on the flip side of that, I'm trying to take that away from other people. I want to give other people a good experience with me. Like, I try to be the one that's calm and collected and just handling business and taking care of them, taking stress off of their plate. And I think if we all did that for each other, what a wonderful world that would be.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So tell me this. So you have, so you do digital marketing for what type of companies? And we know what type. Like we know not jerks. There can't be any jerks, but
yeah.
So all types, it doesn't matter whether it's.
Yeah. I was B2B for a long time, in the tech industry. I really grew up in the tech industry. My husband and I, when we were owning our agency, we helped introduce pretty much all of the technology that we use today. I mean, email, voicemail, spreadsheets, software, the whole thing, microcomputers, the PCs, the chips, the sensor chips. I have this long list of technologies that we helped introduce to the world.
Okay, well, for everybody, I'd like to thank you for all that.
Oh.
We're all benefiting.
Well, I was going to say the only one I regret is voicemail. Yeah, because it's so much nicer to have and excuse me for being sexist, but some nice old lady or a man, doesn't matter, answer the phone and you say, here's my problem. And the person says, you know what? You need to talk to John. He's over here. I'll ring him for you. If he doesn't answer, he's got a voicemail. If you don't hear from him in 24 hours or whatever, call me back and I'll take care of it. I mean, immediate care. Immediate comfort, we're going to take responsibility here. Instead, push 1 for this and 2 for that. I mean, before you even get anywhere. And what if they don't give you the option you want? What if it's not on the list? Then you say agent.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about how frustrated it is on the web, like even with chats on websites and stuff where you're I can't even and I'm a tech guy too. Like, I'm a web developer, I know my way around things. I know how to Google things. Sometimes I have to Google the name of the company's support and try to find that page that's going to have their phone number or their, email or something just to get to somebody. But I don't want to talk to this chatbot right now.
Yeah, I know. And they pretend to be a real person. And by the 5th minute or so, you're like, it's another bot. Yeah, and they aren't going to help me. So we've distanced ourselves from the very people who keep our companies alive. This is a mistake. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was honestly the difference when I switched from AT&T to T-Mobile. T-Mobile answers their phone.
Really?
Or you get somebody immediately, like right after, the first, it's been a night and day experience. I mean,
now it's shocking when that happens.
I know. And
is this a real person?
Yeah.
You're not even. And now it's go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, companies are becoming like. I know. I don't blame you. They're like mothers who don't feed their children. Like, the promise is, I'm going to nourish you and take care of you, but I don't feed you. Right? It's crazy. You can't be that callous about your customers and have them love you. It's not going to work.
Yeah. Yes. There needs to be more love, and you need to talk to them.
Listen to them.
Listen to them. Yeah. I mean, because you pick up on things that them going through a series of pre-made responses and all that stuff. You're not going to get to the heart of the problem, and they just want somebody to listen and actually just get right to the point. Sometimes
and take some action. Yeah. Help them.
I mean, now with, I was just going to say before, I would with chatbots now with voice getting so much better and conversations. I keep getting this ad for this chatbot that's supposed to be able to talk to your customers for you. They just call them up. Hi, Bob. How how are you doing today? How can we help you? And look how real it sounds. I'm like, that doesn't sound real at all. There's nothing, but that's where we're headed. Everyone's going to be just talking to, is this a person, not a person? Does it pass the Turing test? I don't know.
Yeah. We've lost something big, and we're not even talking about it. We're just racing towards AI as fast as we can. And I'm a techie. I've been in tech for so many years. I love tech. I've always been excited by it. I can't wait to learn about the new thing. Okay, fine. But when you misuse it and you start using it to distance yourself from the very people you depend on for your livelihood, that's, like I said, that is a mistake.
Yeah, it's funny, and I think you have to pick up on that. I think about my clients. Like I try to put processes in place because I want things to be efficient. I want to have a good route for people to get stuff done with us and stuff. But I have a few clients. We have like we have Zendesk, so we use that for a ticketing center. And so we have it where we train our clients or our partners to work with that, or they have other routes. But there's a few that love, they're like, I remember specifically, there was one client, he's like, when I implemented that more in the last year or two, he's like, it's okay. He's like, my support people can use that system and other people, but I want to be able to email you, Matt, directly. I'm still going to do that. And he still does. So sometimes we have to kind of coordinate because he's sending me other stuff over here. He's like he's the owner of the company. He's like, he wants to work directly with me. He doesn't want to be, talking to a ticket center or somebody else there to support. He wants to talk with Matt. So I think there's some of that's flexibility. Some people are okay working within these other systems, but at the same time, there's an instance where he wants to just work with a human, or the person he, feels good working with. And we need not to forget that. Not everything has to be automated and have,
That's exactly right.
Up.
You are right.
So anyway, this was a great conversation. I actually hope to have you back again someday because I just feel like you have a lot of life experience and a lot of experience in business and so many stories to tell. And we're all about stories here. So hopefully you'll come back someday. But right now, I would like you to just kind of share how somebody, if they're interested, they like you, they don't think you're a jerk, if they want to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you? Do you got a website out there? If you got is there a book they could, learn more from you? I know you have some books. Where do you hang out? Do you hang out on LinkedIn? Where do you hang out on the World Wide Web?
Well, digital agency, you have to be everywhere, of course. Of course, we have a website, Zhivago Partners. If you just Google Kristin Zhivago, you're going to get pages and pages of stuff.
Nice.
I have a blog and I have podcasts that I'm in. So if you go to the site, you'll see all of those. The book is called Roadmap to Revenue, How to Sell the Way Your Customers Want to Buy. It's on Amazon. It's Kindle and audio and the regular printed book. There are a lot of charts in there showing processes, buying processes. And so I often recommend that people buy the actual hardcover. It's just, I think it works better even than Kindle and Audible. But anyway, as digital as I am, I recommend the book. That's pretty much it. I'm on LinkedIn and X and Facebook, of course. You've got to be everywhere.
Got to be everywhere. I love too that I was just talking to somebody the other day about that. I was like, he had a real problem because he had a very common name, and so he couldn't just say Google me because there's like so much competition. But you could Google me, Matt Levenhagen, and find all my stuff, and it's great that I can do the same for you. Kristin Zhivago.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Kristin. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and very inspiring. Loved your story, and we'll see you. We'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, like that very much. Thank you, Matt. Good job.
That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already and give us a thumbs up if we deserve it. Now a word from our sponsor, my agency, Unified Web Design. We build custom websites, features, we maintain websites, we work with agencies to fulfill their web design and development needs, and more. If you are interested in our services or are looking for an agency to work with as a partner to build awesome sites for your clients, feel free to reach out to me at unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a handy contact me link at the top. Fill out that form and it will open a ticket, and that ticket will find its way to me. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.